Video shows the moment federal authorities handcuff a hotel worker. I had reaction from 2 city council members.
An Afghan man who worked as a translator for the U.S. military has disappeared into the black hole of the Otay Mesa Detention Center.
What a Supreme Court ruling means when it comes to birthright citizenship.
After more than 20 years on the Bay, Joe's Crab Shack is packing up. What's behind the closure and what could be moving in next?
Gas prices in California expected to jump on July 1st, but there's conflicting reports as to how much.
A new roof and plumbing. How the East County posse rode to the rescue of Tom Weller, the highwayman.
CBS 8 News live at 6 starts right now.
This video was shared by San Diego City Councilman Sean Elo Rivera on social media today, showing a woman named Brenda being detained and handcuffed by federal officers in plain clothes with no clear agency insignia. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Carlo Cicchetto.
I'm Anna Laurel, and tonight for Marcella Lee. CBS 8's Alex Cheney spoke with someone who saw that arrest. He joins us live from the hotel where it happened. Alex?
Yeah, Anna, that's exactly right. Late this afternoon, I spoke to a woman who works at the hotel. She told me she was absolutely scared, frightened when she saw those federal agents in the hotel parking lot yesterday morning. You can hear the woman scream as 4 unmarked men put her in handcuffs in the parking lot of the Handlery Hotel in Mission Valley as she arrived for work yesterday morning. Agents can be seen in plain clothes with only badges hanging from their necks. The San Diego Police Department confirmed today that it was the Maritime Task Force operating under the Department of Homeland Security making the arrest. I spoke to a woman late this afternoon who tells me she works at the hotel and witnessed the arrest. She asked not to be on camera. She said they didn't know who the men were and they didn't have a warrant. She told me that Brenda Valencia is a hardworking mother with a son who has worked at the hotel for about 2 years. I spoke to City Council member Sean Elo Rivera today, who told me he was sent the video this morning from Bridget Browning, the president of a hotel labor union. He said he was emotional watching it for the first time.
And be put in that situation where 4 men, one of them wearing a mask, none of them showing identification, are wrestling you to the ground, putting handcuffs around you. I mean, you can hear it in her voice.
People are horrified.
In City Council chambers this afternoon, Councilman Stephen Whitburn reacted to the video.
This is not public safety. This creates public fear. It weakens trust in our government. I want answers. San Diegans want answers, and we will continue to push until we get them, because we cannot allow chaos and fear to replace justice and dignity in the city of San Diego.
And late this afternoon, in a statement from ICE, they said that Brenda Valencia was arrested and detained because she was in the U.S. without inspection, but was later released so that she could take care of her son. I'm Alex Cheney, CBS 8.
All right, thanks so much for that, Alex. This just in, Raymond Mloud Jr. is a former Marine accused of strangling his girlfriend to death in Allied Gardens almost 10 years ago. We've learned he's getting a new preliminary hearing after a mistake made by prosecutors. Today, prosecutors admitted they failed to turn over key evidence from the victim's phone and computer. Mloud's attorneys claim evidence from Crystal Mitchell's devices show she consented to the sexual activity that led to her death, and that could ultimately exonerate Mloud of the charges against him. The 41-year-old spent 6 years on the run before he was caught in El Salvador in 2022. Prosecutors dismissed the current case and immediately filed a new murder charge that will allow Mloud's defense to re-argue their case with this new evidence. Mloud remains in jail tonight without bail.
The fate of an Afghan man who used to work as a translator for the U.S. military is uncertain tonight. Agents arrested Syed Nasser at the federal courthouse 2 weeks ago. As CBS 8's David Goffson reports, Nasser remains in custody at the Otay Mesa Detention Center, facing expedited removal.
Navy veteran Sean Van Diver showed up in person today at the Otay Mesa Detention Center to visit a former Afghan translator who's been in custody here for the past 2 weeks. On July 12th, ICE agents arrested Syed Nasser at the federal courthouse as he showed up for an immigration hearing.
He's now in expedited removal proceedings, so he has a credible fear interview that he must go through, which is just a telephone call with an asylum officer somewhere and an interpreter. No lawyers, no advocates.
Van Diver is the president of Afghan EVAC, a group that advocates for Afghan immigrants who worked with the U.S. military. Nasser left Afghanistan after the Taliban assassinated his brother and entered the United States legally 1 year ago using the CBP-1 app.
He didn't commit any crimes. He just came here legally, seeking refuge after standing with us during our time of war.
On your back. Oh, please stop.
ICE agents have arrested dozens of immigrants inside the downtown courthouse in recent weeks, including this man from Western Sahara near Morocco. In a court declaration, the 34-year-old describes what happened next. Quote, "They told me they planned to immediately remove me from the country. They took me to another floor via elevator and stripped me of everything. It was humiliating treatment. They put handcuffs on my legs, an iron chain on my stomach, and handcuffs on my hands. I was very scared." Once inside the Otay Mesa Detention Center, the man says he was denied access to insulin for his diabetes and, quote, "There were not enough beds and people were told to sleep on the floor. I asked for my attorney. Instead, they told me I had to sign away my rights."
We just went and saw Syed.
Late this afternoon, Van Diver emerged from his visit with the Afghan translator, Syed Nasser, and posted on YouTube he's doing okay and will soon be visited by his attorney. So it still remains unclear whether Nasser will be deported immediately or whether he will be allowed to have future court hearings here in San Diego. Because of his work with the military, he has received a lot of political support and media attention, which may work in his favor. In Otay Mesa, David Gottfredson, CBS 8.
Thank you, David. The Supreme Court handed President Trump a significant legal victory today, but it's creating new confusion about one of his most controversial policies.
The court limited the power of federal judges to block presidential orders nationwide, but Trump's attempt to end birthright citizenship is still tied up in court.
CBS 8's Abby Black breaks down this complicated ruling and what it means for San Diego families.
I've talked to legal analysts today, and they too consider this ruling confusing. So let's break it down simply for you. Let's look at it as what happened, what does this mean, and what comes next. Think of it this way. The Supreme Court basically told federal judges, you can't be the boss of the whole country anymore. Here's how it used to work. One federal judge in, say, Seattle could stop a presidential policy everywhere from California to Florida. The Supreme Court said today, that's too much power for one person. Now, here's the key change. Judges can still block policies, but usually only for the specific people who sued, not for everyone in America. Why does this matter for Trump's birthright citizenship order? 3 federal judges already blocked it nationwide, saying it's unconstitutional. Those cases went straight to the Supreme Court. Trump got exactly what he wanted on this technical question. No more single judges stopping his entire agenda. He called it a monumental victory. But we spoke to immigration attorney Tammy Lynn, and she explains what Trump did not get. His birthright citizenship order is still blocked. The Supreme Court did not say whether that policy is legal or illegal. They just changed the rules about how judges can respond.
I just want people to understand, like, especially folks that are pregnant now and having babies soon, like, it is not ruling that that birthright citizenship is ended. It is just saying that there are nationwide injunctions stopping the implementation of the executive order is no longer valid.
So what happens now? Trump's executive order does not take effect for 30 days. So a swath of people are expected to file lawsuits before then in hopes of getting protection against something that seems on its face unconstitutional. Locally, San Diego City Attorney Heather Ferbert joined other local jurisdictions in filing legal briefs against President Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship. I reached out to her office for a statement, but she declined to provide a statement on this case and the ruling. Reporting in downtown, Abby Black, CBS 8.
All right, great explanation, Abby. Thank you. Okay, here we are. We made it. So get ready for a warm weekend, especially inland.
People celebrating that. Chief Meteorologist Carlene Chavis here with the first look at how it's going to look for all of us.
Yes, it's going to be a warm one, but it's very similar to the heat we're already feeling right now.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and take a look at your forecast. So for today, we had those 70s and 60s right there along the coast. Across inland areas, we were still looking at some 80s popping up and also some 90s as well, seeing those 80s across the mountains. So some low 90s for today for Ramona as well as for Valley Center. By tomorrow, you're still talking about 90s for those two cities. Also adding in for Alpine, 90 degrees expected, 92 degrees expected for Julian, and still with those 70s right there along the coast. So basically, we're just keeping the warmth going. It's just a few degrees above seasonal for this time of the year. So if you're going to be out and about enjoying all that sunshine, just keep in mind, beat the heat tips, drink plenty of water. Also, maybe eat some cold food, some fruits that contain water, utilize fans, air conditioning if you can. Also find just a cool place to hang out. Movie theaters are always a good one. Libraries as well. You also have strenuous outdoor activities that should be avoided during midday hours, like hiking, wearing light-colored, lightweight, loose-fitted clothing, and being mindful of your pets. Anna and I just had this conversation yesterday. If you put your hand down on that asphalt for about 10 seconds and you can't handle the heat, neither can their paws. We'll go ahead and take a look at your complete forecast coming up. Anna.
Thank you so much for that reminder, Carlene. And as always, you can find an extended weather forecast on CBS 8 Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
Right now, thousands of grocery workers across San Diego are waiting to see if their union and employers can come to a contract agreement.
Today is the final day of negotiations, and if no deal is reached, those workers could go on strike. Kroger and Albertsons have been in negotiations with UFCW Local 135 leaders for months over wages and working conditions. Earlier this month, members voted in favor of authorizing a strike if necessary. Some workers were in front of stores this week, passing out flyers and talking with customers about the situation. This is what they told our crew.
And over 90% of the members that voted to approve the strike. And so here we are now. Do we want to go on strike? Nobody really wants to go on strike. You know, we're in the contract business. We're not in the strike business. Potentially, you know, maybe next week, maybe the week after, we could be on strike. But ultimately, we want a deal.
CBS 8 reached out to Kroger and Albertsons. Both said they remain actively engaged in negotiations with the union. If you'd like to read their full statements, we have them posted on CBS8.com. Just click on this story.
New tonight, we're learning county taxpayers shelled out nearly $95 million in overtime for the Sheriff's Department last year. State data shows it's the highest amount in at least a decade and the highest since the state began to track overtime pay. Here's a look at the numbers. In 2020, the department paid just over $40 million in overtime. In 2021, that rose to $46 million. By 2022, it was at $73 million, then more than $90 million in 2023. Last year, the total climbed to nearly $95 million. With 4,700 employees, that would average out to more than $20,000 in overtime for every employee. The Sheriff's Department blames high vacancies for the surge in overtime and says it's working to bring those costs down. For a closer look at the data and the department's plans, visit CBS8.com. You will be paying more for your water starting next year.
We'll explain that still ahead. Plus, a new push from state lawmakers to get a federal fix for the South Bay's ongoing sewage crisis.
And a long time staple along San Diego's bayfront is getting ready to close up shop. We're going to share what's moving in after this.